All right, good morning, everyone. It's 11:30, so we'll get started with the meeting preamble for the March 19th, 2026 meeting of the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee. So first off, to go through the virtual meetings regulations and procedures. Action during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the start of any presentation. The recused committee member will then leave the meeting for the duration of the case discussion. The chair will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call from the committee. The administrator will introduce the first project. The meeting will then be turned over to the applicant to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the committee. Once the presentation is concluded, the administrator will provide background information and will read any received public comments. The committee will then begin deliberations and project review. Please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. After deliberations and review concludes, the committee will render its recommendation and/or motion. The applicant may leave the meeting after their project review is complete. The projects will follow the same format until all projects are heard by the committee. Once all projects are heard, the chair will call for any committee/administrator reports. After all reports have been heard, the chair will adjourn the meeting. Regarding community comments, any and all community members may provide their written comments, thoughts, or questions regarding projects presented to the committee. Community members may also telephone their comments or questions to the committee administrator. All comments, thoughts, or questions must be submitted to the committee administrator no later than 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. Public comment received after the deadline will not be heard by the committee. Public comment will be collected by Landmark staff and sent to the committee members for review prior to the scheduled meeting. Landmark staff will also summarize the received comments during the meeting. The applicant of the project is under no obligation to answer any community questions. Community members are invited to attend the Design Review Advisory Committee meetings, but there will be no open public comment period. As far as our design review guidelines go, all projects are being reviewed using the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and are being considered for the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness. All projects are considered on a case-by-case basis. Presentations were received and distributed to committee members for review prior to the scheduled meeting. Changes to the presentation after confirmation of receipt by Landmark staff are not shown here today. The Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee makes recommendations to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. These recommendations are not final actions. Depending on the scope of the project, submissions may be approved administratively or will need to be reviewed by the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. If that's the case, projects will be scheduled for the next available commission meeting after an action is taken. As always, we have the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation available if anyone needs to refer to those at any point during the meeting or the discussion. So with that, I don't see Nia here. So Chris, do you mind stepping in as chair?
Sure. I'll call the 3/19/2026 meeting of Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee to order. Dan, please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Flaherty?
Or here. I guess more.
Mr. Frondorf? Ms. Lamb? Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Persons?
Here.
And Ms. Marinucci? All right, Mr. Chairman, we do have quorum. So our first project up today is case HOC 26-06 at 1357 Washington Avenue, located in our Ohio City Historic District. So we've got Bob Bashko here. If you want to just walk us through a presentation, just let me know when you want me to change the slides, Bob.
Sure, that's great. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Bako with HSB Architects. We're helping Stella Maris with the small renovation on the St. Malachi campus. So next slide, please. Project location. This is on the corner of West 25th and Washington Avenue. It's the old rectory residential house for St. Malachi that Stella Maris acquired last year. Just a little context for you. That's the existing site conditions. We haven't been able to really find a whole lot of historical images of the property. The one in the upper left is the only one that we could track down, which is, only so good, so to speak. So we've included that one along with obviously existing conditions or photographs of the existing house condition. One of two exterior improvements, or actually three exterior improvements to the house, and probably the most significant one is the removal of a enclosed vestibule that was added on in some past history of the building. If you go to the next, actually, maybe the next image has it. I can't remember the sequence of these now. Yeah, there you go. So on the left side, you can see that kind of that box that was added to the house at some point in its history. And part of our project would be to take that off the building, off the house, and to expose the existing original entrance to the house. Currently, that existing box hides even some of the interior of that facade. So after we uncover it, we're going to get a better feel for what the condition is of that existing facade. But our intent is to restore as close in proximity to what we're guesstimating it looks like based on what we can see on the inside. So you can see on the right is obviously reconfiguration or restoration of that exterior entry. And then noting of our color scheme that we're proposing to paint the house and all the cornices and all the trim work of the house. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Yeah. So just an additional side elevation, in addition to the replacing or restoration of the entry and the painting of the house, we are also looking to replace all the windows on the house, in the house, with, as you can see, just white trimmed window with divided lights or simulated divided lights. Next slide. And then just for context, we gave you some idea. There's going to be some interior work to the house on the bottom left of both plans. You can see we're going to be adding some bathrooms. Stella Maris is going to be using this for one of their residential programs. So there's going to be 12 or 16 residents in the house. They don't need supervision. It's free to come and go as they please. It's going to be supervised, but not necessarily around the clock. It's part of their recovery program. And so part of that, so the only interior work we're really doing is those toilet rooms, as you can see in the bottom left corner, which aren't going to impact the exterior facade at all. We're going to keep those windows. Maybe we'll put some, film over them, obviously for privacy purposes. But otherwise, the house is going to stay pretty much how it is on the inside. And is that it? I think that's it. So that's what we're doing. Hopefully.
That's all we have.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks, Bob. I want to get some clarification, if I can, on a little bit of the scope. So if you're removing that vestibule,
Yeah,
it looks like you're adding new cornice work, new columns, et cetera, on the entry. Can you speak to what the material is that you're putting back on there? Do you know yet? Is that part of your discovery exercise?
yeah. Like I said, you can see on the inside of that vestibule. I guess I could have provided photographs. The two pilasters that flank that door are evident, but the two on the exterior we think are hidden by that box. So we don't know. And then even the that top cornice, you can see, the kind of the bottom of it, but we can't really see it all, so to speak. And we're taking some artistic license with our interpretation of what's up there, but we don't know exactly what it is until we take it off and what the condition is of the covered material, even the existing material. Our intentions are to not necessarily rip everything off and replace it. It would be more of hopefully, stitching the new work into the old, so to speak, with at this point, it's probably going to be wood. If it goes to an AZEK or some kind of, longer lasting material, we'll take a look at that, but that's kind of TBD.
Right. But some of that architectural, call it historic scaffolding, is still there that you can reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see some of that.
Okay. And then another question I had on the painting. I know this is just a Photoshop exercise on the facade, but do you plan on kind of sandblasting, or what is your process that you're thinking in terms of repainting that facade?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be sandblasting.
Right.
I think it's
That's
going to be
what- yeah,
more of
good.
a, more of a scalpel than a cleaver approach. We're going to,
Yeah.
clean, get the old material off of there, clean up the surfaces, manually, and then, again, a very, hopefully sensitive,
Okay.
treatment of the existing facade. We don't anticipate doing anything severe.
Okay. Those were my only two items. Assuming your window selection is not vinyl, right?
Well, no, it is vinyl.
Okay.
Or somebody's gonna walk to somebody's.
So I'll leave it open to some of my other committees members to talk to this one. We generally have a dispositive approach to vinyl windows, especially on the front facing windows.
Yeah.
If you're doing.
Yeah, typically, we recommend replacing with wood windows if wood windows are already in place.
I think if I recall.
If there's already, if the existing, what the existing material is.
There's some of those are vinyl right now. There's a mixture of window types.
Okay.
Okay, I think it would be helpful if we could,
Somebody,
which ones are,
I'm sorry, I lost you there.
I think it would be helpful if we could understand which ones are wood and which ones are vinyl, so we can kind of look at the facades
Okay.
and determine which ones we would recommend to be wood and which ones are acceptable as vinyl. I also have another question. Do you know if the original windows were 1/1 or are they the 6/6 as you're showing?
What on there?
Based on the original photograph, and if you want to go back a slide or two.
Update, I emailed.
Yeah, I tried zooming in, but it's like really hard to
Yeah,
tell,
it's
so I don't know
hard
if you
to
guys
see.
like
I was-
knew from just being on the project.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we're discussing. I imagine when we get to. We get to the Tuesday night.
Great. Those are my comments. I mean, if you zoom in on that historical photo, the top right of it, you can kind of
Yeah.
see, it appears that it might be 1/1, but it's so grainy that you may not even know if it was a different kind. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that's my,
So you may have a couple.
my thoughts.
Okay.
Could we approve this in pieces where we allow, the exploratory work to go forward and then come back with what's discovered, and then to come back with more details about the windows, hopefully something aluminum clad wood window or something that would be more historically appropriate for at least the public right of way facing elevations, and maybe even find additional, given the prominence of this house and its
Right.
location, I have to believe that there are other historic photographs that would show more of the detail as well.
Yeah, I would hope so too. We reached out to Carl and he didn't come up with anything. So usually it's my first, resource to get to him because he's pretty good at it. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I'd love to, if you guys can let me know, I'd love to see him.
Yeah, and as far as splitting it up, that really depends on whether I guess Bob and the folks at Stellmars are willing to kind of submit two permits. You know what I mean? Like one for the front exploratory demo, rebuilding that front porch element, and then a second one for the windows at a later date.
As far as applications to you guys or building permits?
I would think for building permits, I mean, if you put the windows and the entrance work on one permit application, we can't sign off on it until we get approval through a certificate of appropriateness. So if you break them up into separate projects, we could approve one and then the other. I mean, I guess what is your timeline here?
Well, it's somewhat obviously it's everything else in our lives, right? There's an urgency to get these up and running. And my hesitancy is always with the city's permitting process. I mean, you guys are pretty responsive and, you guys are good. And I'm just a little concerned about getting in that machine with two different permits for the same location. So can we take the tact of getting one permit? And what does that mean if I say that? We have to come back to you with more definitive window decisions. I mean, let me just keep talking. So the windows, I understand. You guys want to see more. You want wood windows. What was there historical? We can work through all that. The entry facade would be something where we'd like to get a permit and do that exploratory work as we're doing the rest of the work. So it'd be good if we can, if we work the windows out with you guys and the paint scheme, and you understand that our intentions are to do what we're showing. So we can start doing, get a permit for all the work. And then we take that facade apart. We can let you guys know and get you up to speed. Does that make any sense?
It sounded to me like the concern was more about the windows than the, than the
Yeah.
exploratory demo.
Yeah.
So and I guess the only issue being if it's all one permit, I can't sign off on the permit until everything in the permit's been approved.
Okay, so when's the next time you meet? 2 weeks?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well-
Next meeting.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, let me ask you this, are you willing to go ahead and say, we'll do aluminum clad wood or a, fiberglass or something other than vinyl? If you're willing to say, yeah, that's not an issue, then I don't think anybody else on the committee would object to just going ahead with this project, today. Correct me if I'm wrong, jump in here, anybody, but I think that's really the only hang up that I've heard so far.
Okay, Christine Robinson, Executive Director of Stella Maris, is on the call with Nick Kostakis. Nick, Christine, you got an opinion on that? Sorry to pull you into this.
Yeah, no, sure. Nick, what are your thoughts based on your experience with these projects? He's on the phone, so I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yes, yeah. So yeah, Nick did text me earlier. All the existing windows are vinyl, but that probably doesn't mean much to you guys, does it?
It carries some weight. I mean, there's precedent that we generally, if it's facing the street, if it's a front facing window,
Yeah.
it carries a lot more weight of what's going in there versus what was there.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So from our standpoint, we would love to do everything in wood, everything historical. And as it comes down to sometimes budgets, this is a tight budgeted project. And if we were to run the numbers, I just would hate to have the whole project stop or not be able to be done if we can't do vinyl windows. That's a numbers thing we would have to figure out. Which honestly, guys, I apologize. I am at home sick and I tried to jump on this meeting and I don't have the information in front of me.
May I make a suggestion to maybe speed this along?
Sure.
That we could have a motion to approve with the condition that the windows be wood or aluminum clad wood or some composite that staff could approve. And if for whatever reason, budgetary or otherwise, you cannot do that, then you would come back to the committee to seek approval of what other alternative you might have.
I think that's fair.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is that a motion, Alex?
We can convert that to a motion, yes.
Oh,
And I would like to include in that motion that staff work with the applicant to find whatever historic photographs might exist, and then to match the windows, at least on the two public-facing right-of-way sides, to whether it was 6/6 or 2, whatever the configuration was, to match that, and that the muttons be external and not internal to the glass. And then any deviation from that, for whatever reason, then you come back to us.
So if there's no evidence found of muttons, then revert to a 1/1.
I wish Margaret were on the call for this one. I think so, I guess.
That's what I would recommend. Historically, with this style of building, it'd be a 2/2. Sometimes on
Okay.
a side elevation that wasn't very visible, you'd see 6/6, but that would be definitely not something that would ever be shown to the public.
Okay, then I'm fine with that.
right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Seeing any other hands up or hearing anything else? Chris, are you good with me moving forward with roll?
Yes, please call the roll.
All right. Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Frondorf?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
And Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously.
Great.
All right, thanks, Bob. We'll be in touch about next
Okay.
steps and moving forward, but it sounds like we have some coordination to do.
Okay, I'm not going to landmarks next now.
Or
no?
Let's talk and figure that out. If
Okay.
I mean, I guess it depends on how fast you think you can get numbers on what the windows would look like, because
Okay.
a lot of this looks administrative, other than the windows. So
Okay. Okay. Good news.
Committee's review. So we'll talk.
Okay. Sounds good, Dan. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. I apologize, my headset's getting a little wonky. I think the battery's dead, so I might cut in and out. I'll try and fix that here during this next presentation, which is case HOC 26-07, 2900 Detroit Avenue for window replacements. We've got Fred Bidwell here. So Fred, just let me know when you want me to change the slides, please.
All right, go ahead to the next one. Good morning, everyone. So this is a project on the Van Roy building, 2900 Detroit. It's a building that I acquired in 2015 and developed as a mixed-use project. Most of you are probably somewhat familiar with it. The third floor was substantially remodeled and improved with the addition of a roof deck as a residence for myself and my wife. I then sold the air rights to the other two floors. So the first floor was sold to Spaces Gallery, a nonprofit arts organization. They made substantial improvements, and the second floor was purchased by Gravitas Ventures, which leases it to a consortium of lawyers and a financial firm, Class A office space. So the project, I just go through that because this project being submitted is for the third floor windows only. I think the other two owners would greatly love to improve their windows as well, but issue for them. And so I'm going forward with this with their approval, and my hope is at some point they would follow, but I do not control the other two floors. Let's move to the next slide. So the project here is to replace essentially all of the existing windows, 73 on the third floor of the building, with the exception of the windows on the north elevation, which were replaced when I did the initial remodeling in 2017. The existing windows are traditional single pane sash windows. They were likely installed in the 40s, I'm guessing, and then applied to those windows more recently are single pane storm windows that honestly kind of obscure the original, the base windows with the glare on those storm windows. The proposed replacement windows are very high quality, double pane, energy efficient windows, which would allow the removal of those storm windows, which really significantly obscure the window design. The project would return all of the windows to the original design appearance on the east, south, and west sides of the building, with the exception of 12 windows on the north end of the west elevation, which are proposed to be fixed windows with dome buttons. The purpose of this change is to capitalize on the building's really quite unique view shed over Jim Mahone Green, the old Cuyahoga River, and Lake Erie. The intention is to preserve and enhance the historic facades of the building which face the street in the neighborhood, which is going to enhance the value and functionality of the building. On the backside, the out of view of the neighborhood, the windows with no muttons would significantly enhance the utility and design appeal of the building from the inside, but without really affecting in a noticeable way the appearance of the building on its formal front sides that face the neighborhood. Essentially, those people who would view the windows with no muttons are people in cars on the shoreway traveling at 50 miles an hour. It's an expensive project, about $350,000. Move to the next slide. Just to be clear, here I want to show which windows would be replaced. So we're looking here at the south and north elevation. Sorry for the typo. Move to the next slide. There are two manufacturers I should point out, Quaker and Lincoln. The Quaker and the Lincoln windows, which are on the east elevation and north elevation, essentially all the windows with the radius arch at the top, they gave us the most cost-effective bid for those window designs. The Quaker windows, which are very robust, and I've, in the judgment of my contractor, is the most suitable for the weather side of the building. Those will be on the west side. So here's the east elevation. Let's go to the next slide. And then the west elevation, you'll see this sort of 12 windows without muttons, which match the north side, and then those on the neighborhood end of the building all have muttons. These are all exterior muttons, not sort of snap-on. Let's move to the next slide. To give you an idea of how this will actually appear, here's a rendering of the existing condition. You can see the applied storm windows sort of really cover up the existing windows. It's sort of hard to see the mutton design at all behind those storm windows. Let's go to the next slide. So here's the proposed view, which gives a much crisper, cleaner, and more historically appropriate look on the front facade. Let's go to the next slide. On the view from Detroit, looking, I guess this is northeast. This is the existing condition. Again, you'll see these existing storm windows kind of obscure the window design. Then let's move to the next slide. The proposed design, is much more appropriate, and you can see, again, sort of crisp, unobscured windows from this angle. With the windows with no muttons barely visible, sort of hidden behind the bop stop and trees. Let's move to the next slide. So here's a view from the shoreway. Again, most people are traveling at 50 miles an hour from this view, but this is the existing condition. You can see on the left that on the north end of the building, the existing windows with no muttons. These were installed in 2017. And then we go to the next slide. show the proposed installation. It's honestly barely noticeable, the change. But it's certainly more consistent with the windows on the north end of the building. And again, it's really not visible from the neighborhood at all. So that's our presentation. Love to hear your comments. Oh, these are just schematics of the proposed windows. This is the Lincoln window and the Quaker windows.
Thanks, Fred. I'm familiar with both Lincoln and Quaker manufacturers. They are fantastic windows. I guess I'll kind of save my comments because, to be frank, I don't have many. I think this is a very good project and proposal. So I'll open it up to any other committee members if they have anything they want to offer.
I'll offer, I think this strikes the right balance between preserving the historic windows and on the back half, the latter half that's shown in that photo, not really visible from Detroit Avenue, the clear single pane of glass. I only have two questions. I'm looking at the specs here, but just to clarify, they're all aluminum clad wood windows. Did I read that right?
Michael, can you chime in? I
Sure.
think Quaker windows are not aluminum clad. I think they're all wood, but
Okay.
This is Mike DeMarsh. I'm with Fred Oliveri Construction. The Lincoln windows are an aluminum clad window. The Quaker windows are an aluminum extruded window.
Oh, okay.
And then for the Lincoln windows that have the buttons, are those external or internal to the glass?
Those are internal. They're 11/16 muttons inside a 1-inch glass.
Is there a large price difference between internal and external for this project?
That's something we would have to review with the manufacturers, but from an ease of cleaning and visibility, the internal is the preferred method here. You will still get the same aesthetic.
Okay, I'll let other people comment if they have comments.
So kind of jumping off Alex's commentary, the finish, I don't know if I heard you mention or discuss the finish that you were proposing for these. They look black in this image. Is that what you're proposing for all of these?
Yes, it would match the existing paint trim that's used throughout the exterior of the building.
Okay.
So it would actually be a custom color made by both Quaker and Lincoln to match existing.
Yes.
So it'll match that second floor as well too. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that there are differing opinions on this committee in terms of internal versus external muttons in some cases and where they're appropriate. In this particular case, I don't have an issue with internal, especially knowing kind of the original use of the building and what kind of the balance of where the line is of historic preservation versus new interventions and new renovations. I personally don't have an issue with the internal muttons, especially knowing the product that's going on the building, the Quaker and Lincoln windows, the level of quality that you're getting here, knowing that you're doing the arch top windows. So, it's not a dispositive for me. Alex, I don't know what you're thinking. I know you have a preference for one over the other.
Yeah, I don't know that it's dispositive for me either, given that it's on the very tall third floor. I mean, obviously the preference from a historic perspective is external. But given the scope and scale of this project, you know, I think it's okay. I mean, it's not preferred, but I'm not going to vote no because of it.
Sure. So do we have a motion? I guess hearing no other conversation.
Sure, I will vote to approve as presented, with just a comment for landmarks to consider the internal versus external buttons, but otherwise move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Dan, please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Flaherty,
Yes.
Mr. Frondorf,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
and Mr. Parsons.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the motion passes unanimously. Fred, we will be in touch about next steps, but I think we have you penciled in for next week's commission meeting. So,
All right, thanks very much, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
great
Fred,
day.
thanks for taking care of this building.
Sure. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
thanks. All right, Mr. Chairman, we have no other agenda items today, so no other certificate of appropriateness reviews.
Before we adjourn, may I ask one question?
Sure.
So we have and I'm looking for the address right now. Here it is, 1786 Randall.
Yes.
And there's been some more email chatter this week about them continuing to do work without a permit. What?
You beat me to the punch.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so just gonna have a meeting scheduled to meet with the architect of the project, which I think they're new to the project. Like the project started and then they hired an architect after they got a stop work order from the city. If there's still work going on, which it sounds like is the case, I think 311 is our best option as far as trying to get someone from building and housing to go out there and make sure the work stops until there's an approval. And we also have Lily from OCI here, so I don't know if she has any other updates on that, but I know she's been involved in the emails and has been involved in this discussion as well. I don't know, Lily, do you have anything on your end?
Sorry, I had to figure out how to unmute. So I just emailed Austin to loop him in. I called the chief building inspector this morning to kind of let him know what's going on. I received a few phone calls from various residents, both complaining about like the lack of parking because the construction vans are just taking up a lot of the street space. But also just the fact that construction's going on like 9 to 5 without building permit. I don't really have a whole lot of information. I think we're all kind of on the same page about what's out there. But I'm happy to support in any way that I can or provide any other information if you would find that helpful.
Yeah, I think the more we know, the better. Do we know is there work going on the exterior? Is it all interior at this point?
So from what my understanding is, it's the windows, it's also the siding, and then it appears that there's also some interior work going on.
I guess I was out there a couple weeks ago, and the siding was 75% finished. Have they done additional work since then, or is it kind of that at a stalled point?
I'm unsure.
But yeah, we are. I guess if anyone sees work going on there, I think just essentially let 311 know.
Yeah, I'm happy to walk by the property today and take some pictures if I can, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if you could send them out. That would be great. If for nothing else, just so we have updated photos when we meet with the project's architect.
Totally.
Monday. Say like, hey, here's where we're at. What are you going to do to make this better?
Gotcha.
So,
consider me on it.
Thank you.
I also had somebody reach out to me about the is it 4104 Whitman saying
It
that
is, yes.
somebody's putting some siding on it. What do you know about it? And I'm like, well, I don't
And
know
it
much.
appears windows too, Chris, that
Okay.
they've been putting in what appear to be vinyl windows in contravention to
Oh,
Landmark's orders.
Yes, yeah. So Landmarks approved the rehab, and so a permit was issued with very specific parameters that sort of outlined the commission's approval that siding and windows were to be retained. If they had to be changed, it would be replaced. Wood would be replaced with wood or hardy, and windows would be fiberglass or better replacements. It does sound like there's been some vinyl replacements, so we are on top of that working with building and housing, to to ensure a good outcome there, because yes, the permit was issued under very specific parameters. So I've been by it a couple times, keeping an eye on it, and it seems like gone outside the parameters a bit. So we're working with building and housing on that.
Dan, from a policy perspective, are there anything that we could be doing, working with elected officials, to strengthen the Landmarks regulations and enforcement mechanisms? Like, what, if you had a wish list, what would be on it if we were to talk to Austin and others about this problem and others?
I think from Landmark staff perspective, having a dedicated building inspector would be immensely helpful. Like someone who really had the time to sit down with us every week or two after our commission meetings, after design review meetings, and say, hey, here are the ones that are going to be coming through for permit. Here are the ones that came through for permit. Here's specifically what was approved. All that gets uploaded to the permit file, so the inspector should have that. But they've got a lot of the city to cover.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where the issue is, but I think having one dedicated point person in building and housing, an inspector that we could deal with and have close communication with, to say, hey, we just got a call about this. Can you go check it out? And here's what was approved, and here's what it looks like is going on. That would be, I think, top of the wish list.
Dan, is that a matter of allocating one existing staff inspector to Landmarks, or is this about creating and hiring a new person, a new position?
So from my discussions with Director Martin O'Toole, I think her preference would be to utilize someone internally already, as opposed to having to hire a new position. But that's a discussion I'm trying to restart at this point.
Isn't it a pretty specialized set of inspection? Like it's a
It
big
is.
ask, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we care a lot more about details that most of the city doesn't. Like what kind of wood it is, if the buttons are on the interior, like inside or the outside. It's so it's, I think who, if we do get someone assigned, it's going to be some education. I don't there may be an inspector who already has that kind of background and level of detail, but I'm anticipating that we'll have to do and that's why I think like that sitting down, like here's what we approved specifically and here's why we care about it.
It's also a higher likelihood for on-site adversarial confrontation too.
Yes. Yeah. So it's exactly. It's not just a technical thing. Personality thing as well will be an important part of it. And then we've also talked about doing overall trainings for all of the building housing inspectors, because we need people to not only keep an eye on what has been approved by design review and the commission and make sure that work proceeds as it should, but also catching that work that's being done without a permit.
And then and I'm sorry to keep asking questions, but from an enforcement perspective, is there any sense in getting the law department involved in the city prosecutors to prosecute flagrant violations of the law? Like, these are willful violations. These aren't just, oops, I missed a button. This is, law be damned.
So that's where I always encourage building and housing to cite under Chapter 161.09, which is our minimum maintenance code, and it also outlines the penalty section of our of our ordinance, chapter 161.99. It outlines the ability of building housing to charge between $10 and $500 for every instance of violation. So that's being out of compliance with minimum maintenance code. That's doing something that was, not approved by the commission, or specifically when we approve something and then they go ahead and do something else. That also allows for each day to be considered its own instance. So you could be charged up to $500 a day for violation. I think that would get people's attention and not start that road, to condemnation. Like we see so many times with properties like 4104, where it was in such disrepair for so long. We don't want to see it condemned. We don't want to see it demolished. We don't want to see it go through that process. So by citing under 161.09 minimum maintenance code, we could put financial burden on the owner to do something, be it take action to rehab or sell or whatever, without worrying about it getting caught in that condemnation spiral.
Right. That's been helpful to answer.
And that being said, this year I'm trying to really focus with the law department on updating our ordinance, because it is, it was written in the 70s. It's been amended a number of times, but I think it really needs a kind of going through with fine-tooth comb and sort of modernizing and bringing to the current standards. There's a lot of things in there that haven't been practiced for a long time, or just inaccurate based on the way the city's changed. So I want to update those so that it's accurate and more effective. So that's something that's in the works.
Great.
Anyone have anything else?
All right. With that, I'll adjourn today's meeting of the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee.
Thank you all very much. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye.